All right, chat. So the patch notes for Guilty Gear Strive are going to be coming out pretty soon, and so I wanted to actually talk about what characters I think should get nerfed, buffed, or just kept the same for the patch for Guilty Gear Strive. So we're just going to be going over every character here and talking about what makes them strong and things that I think needs to be either toned up or toned down for every character inside of the game. So starting off with Soul here, I honestly think Soul is at a pretty good spot. I really want everybody honestly to be at like a strength of like this caliber, to be honest. I want to keep Soul the same. There's really not much I would change about this character. I feel like he's in a good spot. You know, a lot of people know as far as like how the systems change. He's very strong. He's pretty strong character, but he's not in the top. Like a lot of people are not putting Soul in their top 5s and stuff right now. But I think he's a very good like bar to set for the strengths of like how every character should be. So I want to keep Soul the same for sure. Kai, I also would keep the same. I think Kai honestly would benefit more from like somewhat of system changes. I just feel like he needs some system change, and I feel like the 2P change is definitely going to be a very good one for him, and that's going to be universal, so something like that. Now if the run cancel is something that's universal, that will obviously be very beneficial for him as well, but I don't think there needs to be too many changes. I think he's pretty solid as far as like what he has at the table. It's just the top tiers are doing a little too much in the game right now, and that's what's sort of like keeping him a little bit. But I think he also is a pretty good like bar as far as margin and stuff like that. I don't really think too many things need to be changed. If they want to like make, I don't know, Dragon Install a little bit better for some reason, they want to like buff it again, I wouldn't mind that. I mean, it's a mechanic that a lot of people don't use, but I feel like his tool set already at the moment and the way it is pretty good. Honestly, I'm gonna put Mei and keep the same too. I honestly think Mei is a pretty solid character. Like, yes, she hurts a lot. She does a lot of damage inside the game. I don't think she honestly needs to get nerfed, to be honest. I think the nerfs that she got in the last patch was like good enough for the things as far as balance changes they did. You know, she's not doing like touch of deaths over the thing. She hurts a lot. Command grab obviously is very good. She has like very good frame data and stuff like that when it comes to certain things. Very good at hitboxes and hurtboxes and stuff. But I think the interactions with as far as like how the game is right now, I think she's in a pretty good spot. And I think she's in like sort of the same strength that I would put like Soul in them. You know, she has some high damage. They wouldn't like the only thing I would say probably is like lower the damage, but I think overall the damage in the game need to be lowered, just not drastically, but universally throughout the cast, right? I just think the games need to have a slight tone down of damage, like 10 to 15%, so you can have like 1 to 2 extra interactions in the game. But besides that, I think Mei is also in a good spot. I'll put Axel in buffs, and not really a big buff, just like some slight buffs here. I think Axel needs a little bit of help in his department as far as his ability to do things on block to keep himself safe. He sort of struggles to keep himself safe in certain situations. And obviously he has the sort of, what is it, the snail that goes up. That's super punishable by a lot of the cast. He also has the move that sort of like flips him. There's ways around that too, by like jumping and instant dash. You're not really punishing him, but like he doesn't really get any like opportunities off of that. And I feel like there needs to be something where he's a little bit more safer without spinning meter. I feel like all his options when he's trying to like back up and stuff like that doesn't really help him keep the space that he really want to do reliably in a situation. So I think he needs a little bit of help in probably like his frame data department to help himself become just a little bit more safer in some situations. I feel like because it is a little bit tougher to play this type of game when you're dealing with characters like, say, like a Chipp or any characters like sort of fast and stuff like that. It can be a little bit harder for him to sort of pinpoint those characters. When he does try to like check them and stuff like that, they still have like sort of a slight advantage on him because of the speed of those characters, and that sort of is a bit of a problem. I feel like it's sort of like messing with him a little bit. So I'll say slight buffs to like how his toolkit works. Besides that, I think everything else is good. You know, he was very beneficial for the universal changes for like especially the air buttons. You can see like the double like H instead of JD and stuff like that. That helped him. The JS nerf definitely hurt him a little bit, but I think that was much needed just for characters to be able to contest this character a little bit more. So I think he's fine with this. So just slight buffs to his kit overall, and I think he'll be okay. Now this one I'm gonna put in buff for Chipp, just because, and this is gonna be sort of a prediction or future type of thing. I feel like some of the things that they sort of did as far as like lessening the speed of certain things, I feel like is going to play in a part as far as it being even more counterintuitive to like the aspect, because some people actually believe like, you know, the game is revolved around the amount of frames that the game have now currently on the console version of the game, which I can see that being a factor, right? If you know like, okay, well this is reactable in this sense, but they're not really calculating like the PC side of things. So if that it truly is the case, if the game is truly revolved around the console delay, and we know from the tweets from like Evo and stuff like that, where the actual delay of consoles may be coming lesser. They're going to be reducing the delay. We don't know when this is coming, but if this is going to be something that happens inside of this patch as far as the console reduction and stuff like that, I feel like some of the changes that happen to this character should be reverted a little bit. So probably increase his numbers of like the startup speed of like some of his stuff a little bit, and I think that's pretty much. I think the J2K nerf is fine. I think that's fine. It was a very broken button. It should definitely have some type of countermeasure to it, so I like the way it is now. Besides that, I think everything else is fine with the character. I mean, I think his damage is pretty solid. His like sort of like, you know, his pressure is pretty good. His mix-up is all right and all that. Obviously, he has like the worst guts in the game, but that is how Chipp has always been. So nothing to really say about there. I do want to see, I want to see something with like Shuriken. I don't know, maybe they somehow buff Shuriken to make it a more useful tool. It's not really something you see utilized that much. Also, he has a pretty good wall slump game now that people are utilizing. So he definitely benefited a few times from like the patches and stuff that happened just with the things they gave him. But I want to see a few more things for this character. Give him a little bit more buffs, and I think he'll be at the right spot. I'm gonna say slight buffs to Potemkin. Now, when I say slight buffs, I'm not saying buff Garuda or anything like that, but I feel like there's certain situations or interactions where I feel like he should have a little bit more advantage. You know, the actual like stop, when you try to use the actual when you try to use a double fist move and try to like stop it, you know, it doesn't have as much advantage as it used to have, like Exalt and stuff like that, which you probably shouldn't have as much advantage like it did in that game. But I feel like when he does things where like he does like the fall over move and then try to like move in and stuff like that, his advantage feels like it's pretty whack sometimes like that. So I feel like giving him a little bit more advantage in situations like that, to where he can actually, you know, get reliable meaties on the cast and stuff like that, I feel like would definitely be something that will benefit this character. But besides that, I don't think he needs too much. Garuda is still a very strong tool at that, and of course, even though it got touched with the FD mechanic, I feel like it's still something that's already still pretty good, especially since people know how to do the Kara cancels and sort of mitigate the space that you're creating with the FD. So while it hurts him, he still is playing a pretty good game and stuff like that. So, you know, grapplers, I always feel like you're going to struggle a little bit, but I want to give him a slight buff, but nothing too crazy, I feel like. Faust, you guys already know this character definitely needs some buffs. I mean, there's so many things you could honestly buff with this character. They started working on his normals a bit, so his normals feel a lot better. They don't have like those extended hurt boxes, which is good. They could work on his, obviously his items a little bit more, right? There's just certain things with the items that just aren't, I feel like, in his favor. Now, this character is definitely a little bit weird, because if you buff him in the right way, he could definitely become a toxic top tier character. Now, I definitely don't want anybody to go through that. I mean, a top tier item throw character definitely just sounds like pain for the entire cast. So I definitely don't want to see that. But I would like to see some of his items have a little bit more benefit to him. I like the direction they went, what they did with the afro. Like, if he picks the afro for himself, is not just a bad thing. It can actually be something that he could utilize for himself. I want to see more things about that, or try to work on the RNG and stuff with the items a little bit more. Give him a little bit more of the confirms as far as like what he had before. You know, almost make Faust, like, as far as his combos or confirms he can stuff and do, I feel like he should have some of the stuff he had in the trailer before, especially like some of the wall bounce and stuff like that. He's missing a little bit of that, and I feel like that would definitely help out, one, his combo game and his ability to actually create better knockdown situations or wall break situations for himself, but just overall increase his damage, increase the amount of things this character could do with buffing his weapons or items a little bit more than actually what he got right now. Just slight buffs to that, and I feel like he'll be okay. Millia, definitely 100% buff. Now, this is my main character. There's no bias here. I promise you there's no bias, but I do feel like this character needs a little bit of help, and it's because of the risk reward of the things she has to do in this game versus the amount of damage that other characters can do to her in this situation. So a lot of the risk reward in this game for her is like skewed. There's like many situations where like the right tool for the situation doesn't amount to her any reward, and it's always pretty much always worth the opponent going for what they're going for, because if they hit her, then they get huge return compared to what she gets. For example, there's times where S-Dis is the right answer, but she doesn't get even Oki off the S-Dis, right? All she gets is like one hit into like 5% into a neutral situation. But if they hit her, or like their 2S or something like that, they get like huge damage. Nago's a big one for that. Or say like if you're using Capel to like sort of like bait out an anti-air, where they're like mashing close slash underneath you, well, Capel will net you one hit for like 5% and then give you no damage. Whether if they hit you with that counter hit close slash, then you're going to die as Millia. So there's a couple of situations like this for Millia, and some other things as well. Like the way Bad Moon works, I would like to see Bad Moon go back to like the way it was in beta, almost like hard knockdown, only for the version of it. I feel like for when it's actually low to the ground, if you do a TK Bad Moon, then you should be able to get a hard knockdown, not the one in the air. And this is something they have done in Exar before. They programmed 2 different Bad Moons to where it has more advantage the higher it was, and the lower it was, it had less advantage. So this is something that they actually can do in their program. They have done it before. So I would like to see that, because it's only a tool she can pretty much use. They already made 6K to where it can't, like, to where it doesn't have the plus frames anymore. So I feel like if we're going to have it like that, I feel like the Bad Moon should definitely be something where she can utilize it. Because if she does it, and she always got to have meter to like basically make it safe at the moment. But still, if she doesn't have the meter to like make it safe, then of course she just dies off of it. So the tool only really comes up when she got 50 meter, and it makes it less of an ambiguous situation, I feels like, because of that. And if it hits, she's basically giving up everything. Like, you can't even use it mid-screen like you could in like previous versions of Guilty Gear. She has to only use it in the corner, because she's going to have less advantage if she does it mid-screen. She's not going to really have any advantage, pretty much like a go back to neutral situation. So there's plenty of a couple other things that's I feel like this character could definitely utilize, but those are the main things. And if those things get touched the most, I feel like this character would be okay. Like the rest of the stuff is just like icing on the cake. I don't really think she needs it, but I would like to have it. But those are the main things I would like to see with this character. Zato 1, I'm definitely gonna put this man under nerfs. This character is mad strong right now. Super good character. He has a lot of good tools. 5P 2P are absurd buttons. The way Eddie comes back, he comes back extremely fast when you kill him and stuff like that. Sun Void, very hard to deal with in certain situations. He has a really good wall break game, which allows him to get some situations where it's like almost, if you got no meter to pretty much stop him, he pretty much puts you in like checkmate situations very quickly. So I just want to see like some slight nerfs, like almost like, I just want to see like slight nerfs to like Eddie stuff pretty much. Not really anything about Zato. The Zato changes he got are pretty much fine. I'm okay. He got a really good 6P. That's fine for him to have. I feel like, you know, the 5P 2P, I know people say those are absurd, which they are pretty good, but I feel like those things will be okay if we just slightly touch Eddie. And specifically, I want to touch his like meter. I feel like just a slight disadvantage on how fast Eddie comes back, because I feel like in this game particularly, for sure, the Zato players are pretty good at like keeping their distance. For like when Eddie is like dead, the way he can float around and stuff in this game and like sort of like pick his angles very well, it's pretty hard to like sort of catch him. It makes it a little bit harder to catch him, and it comes back extremely fast. So by the time he floats and then you try to catch him and he comes down with a button, or like he makes one good maneuver and gets away, Eddie's already back. So it's like, it's a very short amount of time when Eddie is not on the screen. So I'm not trying to nerf the man too much. Obviously the character does take a lot of work to play, and of course he has 0 defense and 0 defensive options as far as like even a super. So I would definitely just like to see slight nerfs to like mainly his meter game, and probably like a couple of like the Eddie moves, maybe some slight tweaks in there. But besides that, I feel like he will be okay besides those like slight things that I want to judge. Definitely think Eddie needs few more seconds. Yo, what's up, Offering? Come back way too quick. Got super to bring back. Yeah, he definitely got a super to bring it back too. Ramlethal, you guys already know this character needs to get touched, boy. I'm talking about they need to stick their hand all the way up in this character, boy. Where do we even start? First of all, the sword normals, forward slash, heavy slash. We need some hurt boxes, some hurt boxes on them. Now, if they want to keep it to where like there's no hurt box on it, like at the beginning, to where like, you know, the first couple of frames, like during the active frame, is nothing, but during the recovery frames where that move is still out there, I should be able to hit the sword. There should be a hurt box on the move when she is in her recovery state, when the move is just sitting out there, at the very least. You don't have to put it out there immediately on the active frames, but on the recovery frames, there has to be some hurt boxes on these swords. Just straight, there's no reason not to. Like, she's getting away with murder when it comes to that, for sure. It did change the way her pressure worked when it comes to her Rekka. The Rekka having the way it is working now is pretty strong. Her corner game is very good. I think they need to nerf her meter gain on her Rekka, because the amount of meter she gets when she does Rekka after she breaks the wall is ridiculous. She pretty much can do, if you don't like FD her out, she can pretty much do an infinite block string on you after she breaks the wall, just by doing like close slash 2S and then going into like the Rekka, because the Rekka builds so much meter off of the positive bonus. So definitely touch the meter gain on the Rekka for sure. Slightly touch her, like, I want to say like slightly touch her advantage on sword, just to make it a little bit more easier for people to play the mind games there. But besides that, I don't want to nerf too much. Like say nerfing damage, I mean, I think the damage in the game need to be slightly touched everywhere across the board, so that's really nothing to say about her. But besides that, I think those are the main things I would really touch. Mainly just like her box and her sword for sure. Slightly touch her like corner situation to where it's not as oppressive. Like, you know, keep it strong for sure, but make it to where, you know, you can play the mind game a little bit easier for everybody across the board. I feel like it's a little too oppressive for the game at the moment. Just make it to where it's a little bit slightly nerfed a little bit. So I definitely want to see that. Maybe, I know some people want to go drastic and like sort of butcher this character and say like, you can't pick up the swords, it have to come back to you. I feel like that's a little too much. Then it would like really ruin her pressure game in the corner. I don't want to do that to the character, but I feel like there should be some type of thing. So if we're not going to do that, then the advantage on the sword should be slightly lessened. I feel like that's fair enough. Like, nerf it by like 2 to 3 frames. I feel like that'll be good enough for characters to be able to contest this move a little bit more. If we're going to still be able to pick up the sword off of everything she does, because the block string, close slash, and the toss sword, 2K, run up, pick it back up again, and the close slash again. Very strong block string. Of course, you can FD and then like try to play a slight mind game depending on the things you do, but there's very few things that you can do, and it's pretty like linear as far as like how you can actually move. I feel like having slightly less advantage on the swords will definitely make it to where characters can play that mind game a little bit more efficiently. So not butchering the character, but making it to where she's a little bit more manageable to fight against. All right, Leo, you guys already know this character need to get touched too, bro. Like, this character is mad strong. His frame data is ridiculous. His ability to mix you on constant is ridiculous. Obviously, damage, like we keep saying, and his ability to get into his win condition is very, very good. First thing I do have to say, I don't agree with the ability to be able to counter hit DP into run through. I think that needs to be taken out. I don't know how they're going to do it, but I feel like he should not be able to do that. If you get the DP, that's fine. You can get the DP into a knockdown, but it shouldn't be a situation. I think the knockback should be a little bit further away to where he can't cross you up or something like that. They need to do something to where he can't cross up with the ace DP. I feel like that's fair. I also feel like he shouldn't be that plus off of the stance cancels. I feel like the ability to have that much plus frames off the stance cancels is actually ridiculous. But my man gets to get a free mix-up on top of being plus. Like, it is really, really strong on top of it. Now, you could keep the loop situation. The loop situation, I guess, you know, that's probably hard to take away from him. But make it into where his normals are a little bit more contestable in the neutral. You know, 5K, I would like to see a little bit more recovery on that, so they're not just 5K and across the screen. So we can, like, whip punish that move a little bit more. Definitely want to see that touch a little bit. People, for some reason, have a hard time dealing with his 2D. So I want to see 2D probably be a little bit more negative on block for this character, you know, in relative to the rest of the cast. So he's not, you know, playing like this weird mind game that I feel like other characters aren't getting that much off of their 2D as compared to him, just because, you know, how relatively safe his 2D is compared like some of the others. So 2D is very strong the way his work and like how far it like lifts him and stuff like that. So definitely want to see a little bit of his 2D change, a couple of normals change, and the way he could get in the stance, and of course the amount of plus frames he get off his stance cancels. I want to see change slightly for this character. I feel like those would be some fair changes for him, and still keeping him strong, but keeping it to where, like, you know, you aren't literally losing the game because you got hit by a DP. I think that's a ridiculous win condition, to hit a DP and all of a sudden you're in the fucking game. I feel like you should earn your hit. You know, the throw is fine, or getting the right hit is fine, whatever. You know, the wall loops and all that is a-okay. But being able to get that win condition off a DP, I feel like it's too strong, right? It puts too much fear into a person, and it just gives him a little bit too much power, I feel like, when he's on the defense. Nago. This man got to get touched too, bro. This man got to get touched. Now, to be fair for Nago, he is a mid dispenser, right? So yes, he has a lot of damage. He should do a lot of damage. The man can't run. There are some things we need to touch for this character. One, he needs to have more recovery on things, right? Obviously, there needs to be recovery on two main things, I feel like, for sure. His Beyblade need to have more recovery, because there's no way this man should be getting away with, if you air dash over him and he Beyblade, he should be able to just be mashing close slash above you and then start counter hitting you, right? There's no way that should be happening. A little bit more recovery on the Beyblade and some more recovery on his 2S, right? It's very hard to like try to whiff punish his 2S at the moment, because of like, you see it all the time where it just be pressing. They'll press like 2 to 3 times because they know you ain't gonna punish it anyway. So, you know, it's a pretty good button in that case. A little bit more recovery on those moves for sure. And I want to see a little bit of touch on his blood gauge. I want to see a little bit more touch on that. I feel like they buffed it a little too much. I honestly feel, I personally feel the far slash amount needs to be touched a little bit. They could keep it to where it is, you know, where it gives a decent amount, but slightly tweak. I feel like it takes away a little too much. Everything else I feel like is okay. Like I said, he is a mid dispenser. I don't think this character need to be touched like that. He is very strong, but a lot of people are seeing that now that this character can definitely be beat. A lot of people, you know, especially with the version of the game right now, don't have him. Like, people are saying like he's top 1 when this patch came out, when this version came out, but now we see like, okay, there's some other characters that can definitely keep up with this character. Like, he does have some tougher matchups to fight. We know that. We see that. He's very strong, but there are some things he has to deal with as a character as well. He doesn't have good mobility. His normals are very good, yes, but there are things that he still have to deal with as a character. He should just have a little bit more recovery so people can actually play sort of a fair neutral game, with him. Like I said, mainly those two things, 2S and Blade, and then slightly tweak a little bit of his blood gauge stuff, and I feel like he'll be in the right spot. I don't want to butcher this character. I feel like he's in a good spot, and just those slight nerfs, I feel like he will be in the same level of strength as like the soul and May and stuff like that. I feel like that would be a pretty good spot for him. You know, I'm not trying to like change things drastically. One thing that always weirded me out for sure was the fact that fucking Leo is a goddamn heavy character. Honestly, if I wanted to put another nerf on Leo, if I wanted to like fucking butcher the character, I'd be like, yo, nerf this man's health amount, put his health amount down, and make this man a medium weight. There's no way he should be in there with the big boys. Geo, this is a weird one, bro. I don't know. It's like the thing that makes her strong right now is the change that they did. But if you revert her back, I don't feel like she'll be on par with what I'm saying here for the rest of the cast. I think I'm gonna keep Geo the same, to be honest. I was going to put her in like nerf. I mean, because I don't like fighting this character, but like, you know, my bias aside, I feel like with the way this is going, I feel like if you nerf Geo in the way that what makes her strong now with the buffs that she got, I don't think that would be right. I feel like that would definitely hinder the character more than like making this a more balanced experience overall. So I feel like Geo has to stay the same. She's very strong and she's like right outside. Some people have her in their top 5, but I feel like she's right outside that top 5 range. She's a very strong contender character. I don't think she has anything that's like overwhelming to where it needs to be nerfed, because if you nerf the one thing that they did buff for her, which is her ability to act out of her dash a lot faster than what she did before, I feel like she is not going to be nowhere near as a good character as she is right now. That is one of the big saving graces of this character at the moment. The only thing I want to get nerfed is her 2D range. You know what? You're right. All right, slight nerf. Okay, you're right. I'll give you that. So I don't really want her to change, but you're right. That dude got to get touched. I was sleeping on that norm for a second. I forgot. 2D has to get touched. I want to see it have either some more recovery or extended hurt box or something. It has to be a better way to try to interact with that normal, because right now that move is mad ignorant and deals massive damage on counter hit for this character. So besides that, the character's fine, but 2D definitely got to get touched. We got to touch that normal. This man unfortunately got to get buffs, bro. I gotta give it to him. He needs a little bit of love in his department, bro. As annoying as this character just spinning the win is, bro, he is struggling a little bit. I'm not gonna lie. I feel like one of the things that is sort of messing with this character is I don't feel like he has consistent confirms, right? There's a lot of times where you hit with this character and he can't even do his basic confirm, right? So like you try to like hit, you go into the Fujin and you try to go into like the low. But there's spaces where it just doesn't even connect even off like his pokes. So they buffed his pokes, they made the pokes better, but it's like the conversions you get off the pokes aren't consistent enough. I feel like he should always at least get a consistent like the low, like the consistent low. I feel like if he could get that off his pokes at like pretty much all his ranges that he play at, I feel like he'd be good. I know a lot of people also want some changes on like the butterfly and stuff like that. I feel like butterfly is okay overall. Like the low should definitely, I feel like, be safe too. I feel like the low is okay being safe. If we make it slightly safer, I feel like he won't be killing nobody if the low is a safe option. And he can still die off the overhead. I'm fine with that. But yeah, I think those are the main things that he pretty much can benefit from. Like just mainly his confirms just aren't consistent. I feel like that's a big issue for him. Everything else I feel like is pretty good. I mean, you know, his super is okay. The parry super or whatever. I mean, it's the parry super. His other super is all right. Yeah, I feel like he'll be in a decent spot with those couple of changes, and he does already pretty good damage, so I feel like he'll be up there with the rest of the cast with that. Spin's already pretty good. I don't think he really needs too much else. He already got the guard break in the air. and he could already come down with buttons, so that's pretty good. So those couple changes I feel like would definitely change him. And of course, if the universal change also comes into play, especially with, you know, we were talking about the counter hit thing. So if you get like, if you could do 2P and that counter hits, and you could go into like the close slash or something for him, and he already get the better confirms that we're talking about, then that would be a huge change for him as well. So already with the universal system changes that we're talking about, if that is universal stuff, along with what I'm trying to give him now, I feel like he'd be in a good spot. I'm trying to think of the universal stuff that we have in the game now, and along with the changes that I'm saying characters to have, trying to give like a good relative spot for some of these characters. Ino. Obviously, I don't think she need buffs. I think this character is strong the way she is. She don't need no buffs. Is she fine? Keep the same? Keep the same? I think she's in a good spot too. Reduce the frames on the super? Nah, I think that's fine because it's easy to punish that super. The super should definitely be plus. I think that's fine if the super is plus. The one thing I know that Ino players be begging for, especially in this version of the game, because Ino always had the ability to use horizontal chemical love as a means to stop people from approaching, but now everybody like universally can run underneath it. If they wanted to change that, I mean, hey, what can you do? That would be the only change that could like help the character in the neutral situations a little bit. That would like help her in like some like sort of matchups, I feel like. But besides that, that one change, I feel like she's in an okay spot. I don't think she needs anything else. I think she'll live. I think she's all right. Her mix-up is very good. She has one of the best wall slumps in the game. She has one of the best wall break supers because she actually get a good mix-up off of her wall break super. She gets the high-low mix, or she could throw you. You know, she has pretty good frame traps. She has pretty good ways to bait burst with her going underneath it and stuff like that with stroke. She could build her own plus frames as long as you aren't throwing her out of heavy stroke and stuff like that. She got some pretty good things. Goldlewis. I hate fighting this character, and I hate putting this man in the buff category. You know what? It doesn't matter. I'm already putting him here, but because we already know he getting buffed. We know at the very least, if not everybody else getting a 5K run dash cancel, this man is getting a 5K dash cancel, and this will help him a lot in those certain situations where people are trying to FD him out of the Behemoth Typhoon stuff. This would definitely help him out in those situations. His whole game plan is revolved around the actual guard break mechanic, and I feel like I almost really just want to rework this entire character, to be honest. Like, I don't like the fact that this character is revolved around the entire guard break mechanic. That's his whole gimmick. The stronger you make other things in the game as far as the defensive options, the weaker this character would get. So I don't really feel like there's any other thing you can like buff with this character. If we're gonna keep buffing FD, but they buff FD in two ways, you get pushed back more for guard breaks, and two, FD no longer give you that -2 frames of advantage. Now you have the same amount of frames of advantage, which is like different from any arc sys like FD or barrier type mechanic. You always got less advantage when you FD'd. You got an extra 2 frames of block stun that you add on to when you do a barrier or FD inside of arc sys game. They took that away in this game. This 5K thing, I definitely want to see how it works. I honestly don't know what they can buff for this character because he's revolved around guard breaks. Like I said, because he revolved around that mechanic, but they're also trying to make sure this mechanic isn't like too crazy. It's like, what do you do with this character to make him more stable of a character? Jacko. That man DBC not here, right? I can put her in Nerf. How you guys feel about Jacko, chat? Just straight up Nerf because I hate her. Damn. I like you, bro. Hell yeah. Nerf this bit. Fuck the minions. Take the clap away. 1 minion at a time. You can't hold the minions in the air no more. Normals, shatter them shits. Fuck that. No, I can't do this to this character. See, this is a scary character, bro. This character is scary to buff or nerf. Or this character is scary to buff, honestly. Scary character to buff. She's 1 buff away, 1 or 2 buffs away from being an OD ass character. What do you feel like this character actually needs, chat? If you're going to buff Jacko, what do you feel like she needs? Because when this character gets going, it is rough out there, fam. I just can't give a valid reason why to buff this character like that. But I feel like this character has so much untapped potential. I don't know. She needs a gun. Oh, like Happy Chaos? Oh, okay. She needs a gun. I wanted to see some aspects of her kit that are neglected buff. Like countdown for the servants. Yeah, people don't really use that much, you're right. There's like certain setups, like very cheeky setups you'll see where people have like some unblockable stuff with like that. But you don't really see it utilized that much. I don't think you see people actually use like the return mechanic that much either and stuff like that. Probably give the minions maybe like an extra hit or 2 before they go away. Maybe that'll be okay. Okay, like you can interact with the minions like 1 or 2 extra times before they go away. I think that would be like I don't know, like the only things that I could like see buffing for this character. Like when this character gets started, she is really oppressive. I feel like honestly, if they're going to change something, one change I feel like I would give her, to be honest, and I think this is a fair change. The one thing that this character is missing is I feel like some safety. like some safety in some situations. I feel like her safety ability is kind of lacking. But for the most part, I still want to keep her in the same. Like I said, if they buff certain things, then that's okay. But for the most part, I feel like she's in a pretty good spot. This man, all right, he needs buffs. He's not that good, chat, to be honest. Feel like he should have a few more bullets. Give him about probably like 5 more bullets. Regen, I feel like when he tries to do concentrate, is not fast enough, so he should be able to concentrate a little bit faster. When he had the gun out, he should be able to block too, because you know he can't block, so he should be able to block when he has the gun out. Steady aim should take less meter away, even without concentrate. I feel like it drains too fast. Yeah, he needs a command grab too. When he does the command grab, it automatically refills all his bullets. That's what he needs. He needs to be able to refill all his bullets on the command grab too. All right, let's stop playing here. We all know this man need to get touched, bro. Where do we even start with this character? It's sort of hard to do, like, sort of to mess with this mechanic, but we know he has the ability to, like, sort of negative edge. He has the ability to negative edge his shots, right? So he can sort of negative edge his normal, and if he whiff a normal, he can sort of go into the gun and hit you before you hit him before trying to whiff punish, because he can just negative edge it, right? So there has to be some way they need to touch that, right? There's no way he should be able to do, like, run up 2S and he whiffed the 2S, and he punishes you for trying to punish him because he whiffed a normal. Something like that needs to get changed. Obviously they need to, like, change the way his actual steady aim and stuff work, as far as the guard break. Either take the chip off or something. Like, if it's gonna guard break, it shouldn't be doing that much chip. They really need to just nerf the guard break and how fast he could get into the guard break, so he can't do it with the negative edge pressure. Just touch the negative edge thing, right? That's what I'm saying. They just take away the negative edge aspect. That would almost break the character completely, which is a little bit. I don't want to, like, kill him. I still want him to be good, but that's what I'm just thinking, like, okay, how do we do it, right? Like, either, like, slow down certain things to where this isn't something he could do up close, to where he's not just sitting here, bam, bam, up in your face, like just doing steady aims up in your face. If we touch those two situations, I feel like he'll be okay. Take a few seconds off curse, that's fair enough, to where the loop isn't as long. How long is it now? I actually don't know how long curse lasts. It's 5 seconds. Okay, so take it down to probably like 3. Those two main things need to be touched in some way. I don't know how they're going to do it, but those are the two main things I feel like they definitely need to touch. I think that would make it to where the character actually has to play the game. He'll still be solid, and we're not completely butchering the character. Baiken, put her in the buff category. I think this character need a couple of buffs, to be honest. This slight buffs. Her ability to confirm is very bad at the moment. She can hit you with far slash and not be able to convert off anything. She needs some type of confirm ability from her pokes, off of the opponent not just getting counter hit or just being crouching. Also, I would like to see a slight buff, just very slight, one frame, 2 frames at max, of how active the parry is. The parry feels non-active at the moment. It's active for a little bit, but the amount of active frames that are there is not big. I feel like the parry needs to be a little bit more active, slightly, like 1 to 2 more frames. Like I said, 2 at max, no more than that. Can we get, like, extend the horizontal reach of her sword super a little bit? There's times where that super just don't reach, where, like, it forced you to use the gun super in places where, like, I feel like you shouldn't have to use the gun super. The super just needs to go a little bit further. I feel like just extend the hitbox on that a little bit. Those would be the 2 main things I would like change, or 3 main things I would change for her. I feel like everything else is good. Her damage is good. I feel like her air game is pretty good. She has pretty good mix-ups off of, like, tether and stuff like that. Her conversion abilities off tether are really strong as well. So she has really good safe jumps, pretty good mix up with the TK as well. So I feel like everything else is pretty good. Those 3 changes I feel like are the main changes that I would do for her. Now, Testament, I'm honestly just gonna say keep the same. I feel like there's still a bunch of people who need to learn about this character. I don't know where to put the character. I don't know if this character needs to get buffed or anything like that yet. I still almost feel like it's too early to, like, mess with this character, say anything about this character, to be honest. I mean, I see people putting in some work with this character. They seem pretty good. I don't know really what to touch with this character. I don't really fight them that much. Not a lot of people play them, so I don't really have too much of an opinion on Testament, to be honest. This is one of my few characters that I don't know too much about. I would just keep them in keep the same. I think this is a pretty good list. I think we did pretty good. Of course, this will go on YouTube as well. So of course, for the people on the YouTubes, let me know, of course, who you guys have in your nerfs, keep the same and buff list, and tell me the reasons why you think characters should be there as well. I definitely want to hear what you guys got to say down in the comments below. As always, if you like anything I had to say, drop me a like. I greatly appreciate it. And if you want more from me, follow my socials. Also, don't forget to subscribe and turn notifications so your next video goes live. As always, my name is Baiken, and I'll see you next time. Signing out.